Okay, we are ostensibly back, and unfortunately,
Hello!
yes, unfortunately, the technical difficulties that we had in the middle of the stream persisted. I don't know what it was, but there was some sort of setting that my desktop audio got changed to some other channel, so it wasn't getting picked up. So that entire last segment ended up being, unfortunately, muted. Not by my fault this time, for once. But yeah, because of the persistent technical difficulties, we are going to go ahead and call the game for now. And we'll go ahead and try again in 2 weeks. So while we're here, let's go ahead and do our usual thing. Maybe cheer me up a little bit. That was a short session, but I think it was a very meaningful one. Who wants to give their thoughts first?
Why is Calder on me again?
Oh, right.
A bit of housekeeping. We figured out, not that you could hear in the first place, but when Echo ran through the area effect of radiant, sickening radiance, he did take damage. I did the save. He failed it. He took 26 damage, and he's got 1 level of exhaustion.
Ouch. We'll make
Which
sure
is fine. That's not the one that halves his speed, so he was still able to get out again with the dude.
We'll make sure to put that in post when we're recording that particular bit of video. But yeah, the whole idea of him running into the damage and like tackling this or pulling this gray dwarf out of the area of effect is a pretty cinematic one, and I really like that.
The entire thing was very Echo.
Stop! We don't have to fight! Wham! Wham! Motherfucker! Vic picks up. Echo, thank you!
Reading the spell explains the spell. We went and read more, and like the Sickening Radiant spell is just like a perfect anti-Dwarger spell. Because in addition to the exhaustion and the radiant damage, it suffuses the ones that fail the save with a green light that makes it impossible to be invisible.
Which is one of their things, right? They go invisible.
Which means that the Drow also didn't escape because he was still visible until the spell ends.
But wait, didn't he make his save?
No, he didn't. He failed his initial save. That means he has the green light regardless if he wants it or not.
Right.
I will have to go back to that. There would have been a different sequence of spells in that case. But yes. We will go ahead and say for the sake of time and purposes that there was something in that Drow's repertoire that allowed a fair escape.
A Misty Step will do
it.
Yeah. But yes. So yeah, that was very interesting. I don't know how I expected it to go. I specifically set up an encounter with a whole lot of people knowing that fucking anything could happen. I'm glad that it didn't turn into a slog of each thing getting its own individual turn. I was really happy with the Sickening Radiance because it removed an awful lot of the initiative counts. But yeah, it was. I built an encounter that if you would lure them in so that they could be hacked apart by the Iron Golems, it would have been a pretty easy encounter. But otherwise, those CRs are not on your side.
Well, honestly, that was my initial plan was to just let them bottleneck at the doors, cast Sickening Radiance on the other side after they'd grouped up. But because of Echo wanting to play diplomat, that changed plans very slightly.
Echo wanted to make friends. Echo's in this war to make friends.
And we will begin again the next session.
Echo's unrepentant dwarf fetish aside.
we will begin next session with a negotiation of get the fuck out of this mountain and we won't murder you. You to them, not them to you.
I was gonna say.
Like Calder laughs. Just that went great for you 10 minutes ago.
Echo is still looking to make friends. He sees potential allies in these people.
Because like we can both agree, fuck those guys. Gestures at orcs.
Yeah,
that's probably the way to go. Yeah.
Yeah. Because obviously these guys have some sort of foothold in here because they're here.
Because I'm not terribly interested in generations of dwarf fighting when it involves when orcs that turn into werewolves is on the table.
So we have a lot to offer these people too. The information about the orcs that we know, the specifically like the gods fueling them and that sort of thing.
And I'm interested in not exerting magical might to pop them like grapes. So, but then again, I'm a little like I'm riding that high right now. I just that entire combat for Calder's entire scene was just a very big flex moment for him, and I feel very happy.
Good. I was hoping to get that. I was hoping to work that AOE muscle out a little bit because yeah, all those rust monsters.
I think
Good times.
Cute.
We at least like I intend to save at least one, but only after we have some time.
What size are they? Medium?
They're medium. Yeah.
That's a big bug.
Yeah, and
yeah, like, I want to encase a bug in a bunch of rock and then cast Raise Dead on it, so I have a pet.
I have to say that I am pretty proud of myself for designing this encounter because I did not design this encounter to be you all take on a bunch of Dwerger. I designed this encounter to be what would the Dwerger bring if they wanted to take out 2 stone or iron golems. They brought
honestly 8 rust monsters. Solid guess.
Yeah, bring a ton of rust monsters. Also, they brought a very large, leader kind of type. They possibly, unbeknownst to them, had a drow mage in their midst.
Yeah, I'm curious about that, if they knew that was a drow or not.
Well, I'm guessing because he was disguised, probably not, and that will be a further part of the discussion. But like on a pure, but now I hope you realize, Rob, you do get to make you do get to make Dwerger Stone Guard 1 into a proper NPC now.
That's true. That's true.
Like,
there's like a debt there now.
Like Dwerger don't have a lot, but they do have like a sense of like they do have that sense of treachery.
They are lawful still.
They're still lawful, so they do have that sense of like obligation.
Yeah.
So the idea of like all of his friends just leaving him in the middle of this horrifying light pit to die probably didn't do him any favors.
Yep. I think you may have found yourselves another companion. That's entirely possible.
Yay, continuing the trend.
We're
not allowed to leave it. We're not allowed to leave any combat encounter without at least making one, at the very least, neutral friend.
It would not be the Bad Decisions Club if it wasn't all about getting just every NPC in a big basket.
Well, I'm just saying we make friends because they're either on our side or and like us, or they don't like us and they're too terrified to tell us no.
I am curious about, we didn't get to see the payoff of whatever's going on with Durgadin and Kretha, so I'm going to be looking forward to seeing that next time.
Mm-hmm. We do wish Jen a speedy recovery.
I really enjoyed Vic showing off that enlarged spell.
Yes.
I love the idea of, and that's my play of the game is using the Grey Dwarves' own power to intimidate them, to literally shake them into obedience was spectacular. Like I really liked that. Did not expect that. It was awesome.
And this is the size you could be if you ever did want to grapple T-Rex Echo. Yeah, it is possible.
Yeah, well, I didn't have access to it then.
Fair. Oh man, that level up.
Look, I just had fun being like, stop. And he's like, and I'm like, well, fine. Look, I'm going to cut my own arm open to show you that I have electric fucking weapons. Let's have this conversation quietly, preferably in a language I speak.
Yeah, when Calder asked about surface languages, only the one in the mech responded in Dwarven, right?
Correct.
He probably speaks broken common. But...
Yeah, he did not speak in common, but yeah, that's a reasonable assumption to make. No one else volunteered their voice. No.
I mean, I went through my list of like, Sylvan Goblin and that Interplanar one that I have.
Did they speak the Interplanar?
It did not seem to recognize any
I don't know.
Although I do have to say, we're what, 10 minutes after a long rest, and Echo's already 2/3 of health down again.
Look, Echo is like the
Self-inflicted.
epitome of the Bad Decisions Club.
Like half of it's self-inflicted. He did take a hammer to the face twice from the rage dude.
The part of me that's happiest about this is that the only thing I need, because I'm finally of enough of a level and have enough spell points, that all I need in order to recover from killing so many NPCs is one short rest. So I can spend a magic points on to restore my 4th level spell slot, and then get 5 sorcery points back via the Bloodwell amulet.
Yeah.
Just one short rest away from using a level 4 spell. Feels really good.
9th level full caster, man. You're up there now.
Yeah, it's gonna make the inevitable later showdown a lot more interesting.
What do we think is going to happen going forward, specifically with the disposition of this forge that you now have at least possession of, literally and metaphysically?
I am looking forward to the inevitable browbeating I intend to give Durgadin for this wonderful, great magical relic that I saved from the forge a in-life year ago, and it's to save an object for Kreitha. And he's like, "Okay, cool. I'm now going to browbeat you into submission for my patience."
Yeah, I'm curious what that means too, because I'm getting the sense that we might lose Durgadin to whatever the fuck is going on. So I'm very curious. Like, well, and also you're asking us what we're gonna do. It's not like we can hold this. There's thousands of orcs out there. It's just because we take the forge room doesn't mean we have the mountain.
No, not the mountain.
Well, I have a plan for that, and I'll be happy to discuss it either in game or out of game in the future. But I have a plan now.
Well, it's like, and Echo still wants to investigate. We're still trying to figure out like what the orcs want this place for. Like we suspect it's the forge, but we're all the weird god stuff going on. We wanted like make sure like nothing else was going on here. That's why he was asking about the blood, and yeah. Just because the orcs might want this place for the forge doesn't mean the gods don't have other plans for it. So Echo still intends to do some investigating.
Seems reasonable to me.
Yeah.
Is Vic gonna just turn around and start using the forge to make shit? Like,
like it's an option. It's not not a 0 chance option. Cause like I got ideas.
We have we have 2 iron golems and perhaps a small army of Dwerger and a teleportation. And I have teleportation circle, so we can, in theory, summon our army to us.
Depends on if anybody. I mean, does Sven have teleportation circle? Sorry, it's limited to people, right? Like a certain number of people.
I mean, yeah, but you shove stuff into a bag.
You can still we're inside of a mountain. We're inside of a mountain. We don't need siege equipment. We need bodies.
Okay, side note. We as the players have been through this map, and it is like 6 rooms total.
This part
of the area. I'm going to go ahead and say that once the dwarves move in, there are probably other places that got collapsed in the fighting. This is probably a much larger space than the map represents.
Because the map represents maybe a fraction of the size of a proper castle.
Right. That said, yes, that is sort of, I assumed the idea was eventually to bring the dwarven forces in here as much as possible, though we'll talk about that when we talk about that. But yes, I did think that like bringing in Boulder Shoulders into this area and having them help secure it with the help of the golems was probably the way you were gonna go, but it's honestly up to you. I am fascinated to find out if you go out and explore what's left of the Glitterheim and everything else out there.
Yeah, Echo is still very much of the idea that this is a scouting mission. This is an information gathering mission, because like we've only seen the Dragon's Lair, the actual forge room, and now this room. Like, Echo hasn't been here before, but he knows it's bigger than just this.
I will go ahead and give one very small sort of semi-spoiler before we go around and do our what we enjoyed. I intend to have the team engage in a crafting challenge, which will end up being a skill challenge, along with some role play that is going to involve Kreitha and Durgadin, and his fate and your fate as a team is going to kind of depend on the results of that.
Okay.
and what you decide to do. You will have agency in this as well. There is an ending where Durgadin stays in the forge forever. There is an ending where Durgadin comes out in some sort of weapon still, or a mix, or neither, or whatever you do.
There's an ending where Vic stays in the forge forever.
I also do want to talk about a character of the possibility of summoning a bonus fight. Goading the Xanathar into attacking us just as the orcs arrive, and just so Xanathar is just surrounded by a bunch of werewolves, because that sounds funny to me.
That's a fascinating idea.
I don't think it would come in person, but maybe Nihilar could get fucked.
Maybe. Xanathar is pretty... Well, I was about to say he's pretty smart, but it's really more surrounded by smart people.
He's paranoid.
I imagine that the Xanathar Guild is at least somewhat aware of what's going on up north. But I don't know how they would react. That's something I have to think about between now and next game. Lots of big things happening, lots of big wheels turning, and I have to figure out how everyone's going to react. Yeah, good times. Let's go ahead and do our favorite thing that happened this session and which player character we want to shout out. I believe you are all out of inspiration at this time, yeah?
Yeah, we all used them. We all used them last time, didn't we?
I will go ahead and choose someone to take inspiration this time, but I would love each of you to tell me who you think that person should be. Let's go ahead and start with Gail. What's something you had fun with, and who's someone you want to shout out?
I had fun being a T-Rex and getting to do... I unfortunately made my intelligence check on the one thing Echo was going to fuck up. He might have stepped on that bridge and broken both of the bridges, which might have been a problem, but I had fun being a big stompy T-Rex who doesn't realize the fight's over and is still trying to gnaw on iron golems. You know, it was very fun.
I'm glad that part did not have the audio issues.
And I'm going to put the shout out inspiration towards Jeff for that ridiculously competent use of spells. Like that spell basically shut down the entire encounter. It was very expertly done.
Thank you.
Jeff, what's something you had fun with? What's someone you want to give a shout out to?
I definitely love. Not to harp on it too much. I enjoyed turning Echo into a T-Rex, but that was more last session. I did enjoy Echo just wanting to make friends, just stepping into the next room, and your response is, "Damn, is initiative." It's like yeah, we get it, but
I didn't even throw in a "Are you sure you want to do that?" in this case, because I could see that Gale was 100% on board with it. I was like, "All right, here we go."
Insert GIF of Nick Frost loading a shotgun, saying "shame." It's like that was my emotion that entire for that in sequence when they're like, "Well, it's a fight." Shame. That was a lot of fun. Shutting that Sickening Radiance it felt good, and it was a good flex moment for Calder just to very casually kind of gut an attacking force of Dwargar that were ready for a fight.
Yes, that were ready for a very different fight. But yes, you're not wrong. That was awesome.
It felt really good, and not to diminish that. But I also just deeply enjoy Vix picking a Dwargar's head like a basketball, and just that moment of that iconic bully moment.
Gotta do it.
M, what's something you had fun with? What's someone you would like to give a shout out to?
Let's see. But can I shout out Kreitha for being on con?
Yes.
Sleeping through the whole thing.
Sleeping through the whole thing.
Life goals.
Right? Like, for sure. Like, that's like, look, you gotta understand. That was like a 10-hour nap, and I'm super jealous. But also, I feel like Jen should have the advantage for having like the sickness twice. Like, for real. Like,
Are you
what
saying
Calder
she is
did was
down with
dope,
the sickness?
for sure. Like, what Calder did with the spell was dope. It screwed up my plans completely, like every single time. I had the opportunity to go like intimidation and be all big and also a werewolf, and then no, there was nobody there, so who cares? I guess I won't do that. You jerk, in a good way. Yeah, I had fun being like larger. I'm a small human being. And I am playing a tall character, and I get to play extra tall sometimes, and that's fun for me.
I had fun with everything. Anything else, Em?
That's it. That's all I got. I don't know if there was anything else I needed to remember.
Nope,
My name is M. I am one silver key on all the things. I don't remember anymore.
Yep. I loved the entire session. It was awesome. I was worried after the technical problems that it would just completely fall apart. But it's going to come together really well, and the video will take a little while to get finished, but once it's finished, it's going to be great. And it'll look like one of those pre-recorded segments. It's fine. It happens all the time.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
T-Rex Echo was awesome. I loved just the feeling of watching you pace around the map, because every time I moved you, like 10 or 15 seconds later as I'm talking, suddenly you want to be moved over there. So like the whole screen was you pacing around the screen in real time while the narration was happening, and I thought that was perfect.
I was thinking of something dumb to do at every point. Should he try to knock over the thing? Should he try to break the bridge?
So I am ultimately, however, going to agree that I think Jen gets the inspiration on this one, because she has not been feeling well, and I feel like in the session to come, especially the crafting scene that's likely to happen, she's going to need it. So we're going to go ahead and give her the inspiration for next time. Em already gave their social information. Let's go ahead and go get Jeff's as well, please.
Yes, hello. You can find me at Still Tired and Angry on Instagram and on TikTok, where I do sketches and drawings and other fun stuff.
Gail, where can people find you and like find your artwork?
I've got a Tumblr, A Measure of Separation. It's misspelled. It's in the chat. It's where I post fan art and writings and whether or not it's canon.
And you can find me on Twitch and Twitter at MathDemigod, where you are at right now. You can find the VODs of this series on youtube.com/gamingmathematically. That's all we've got for you tonight. Thank you very much for being here, and we will see you next time.